So when we look at extended reality, it has become very important for higher education at this point in time. And when I thought about having this session today, I had a thought. What if VR, extended reality, and all the realities merged together had advanced in such a way that we were 10 years down the line and we had a pandemic like COVID? Where would we be in as it relates to teaching and learning? Would this be another learning modality, teaching and learning modality? What are your thoughts on that? Because we're asking a question, why extended reality? If we had advanced beyond a certain point, extended reality help us to navigate this current COVID crisis. What are your thoughts?
I think I go back to my last statement. It really depends on which scenario. What is the learning objective at hand, right? In a pandemic situation, sure, if the tool could facilitate for students to get immersed, say, in how to conduct a surgery, or even perhaps, how would you do classroom management? And as a matter of fact, some of that work has already been done at our own university, even very successfully. So it depends on what the learning objective is, having the faculty member, the subject matter expert, and teams of technologists and instructional designers. It's a team sport, if you will, trying to figure out, what can you leverage and how can you help the students achieve that learning objective at hand, I think is what it amounts to.
Excellent. And as I thought about what you're saying, I remember Kathleen doing a project with School of Nursing. Kathleen, you want to highlight the 360 image that we created and how nursing used it to just show you the possible potentials of virtual reality in the future, or extended, or 360. Yes.
You mean the movies that we made of the College of Nursing has a simulation floor, which has the mannequins in it. And it's very, actually, I dragged Francisca with me. Remember that day we went to watch? So they have different rooms with different mannequin patients, and whatever is going on, they'll put the students in there and give the mannequins certain symptoms. So they have like a adult room, a pediatric room, a control room, and a conference room. And what Rohan and I, mostly Rohan, went there and took a 360 video of those areas so that they can share them on their in the courses, because they have an online, first high quality online graduate certificate at UCF that teaches students how to create a sim floor, which I don't know if we want to go into, or maybe after you want to go into the software, Francisca, that your team made, which is amazing. But they don't ever see a sim floor because it's all online, or they may not ever see a sim floor. So these videos in 360 VR let them see the different areas of the floor as part of their class, because again, it's online. And then, I don't know, do you want to talk about the software that your team created?
Sure. The Tech Rangers and Corey did a magnificent
kind of
job.
Simulation. That's what people need to know. There are different kinds of simulation.
That's true.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, that was it. I just wanted to say, like, because yours is a software. Well, you explain it.
Well, it is, if you will, like a widget or an app within this larger system that kind of empowers the faculty to create different content, interactive content for their courses. But this particular one that Kathleen was key in terms of the instructional design aspect of the simulation, it consisted of allowing these nursing simulation students design the room, the patient's room, place the furniture around, place the different medical devices that you would find in a patient's room, and put it in a way where they would think it would be the most efficient and effective and caring room for the patients. And then they would take the goggles to experience whether what they have designed as the patient's room was going to be what they thought it would be. And I thought that was one of the most efficient ways of using virtual reality, taking
And
it
then
to,
submit it as an assignment. They take a
yes.
and submit it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was an excellent overview of what they actually did, and I thought it was really pushing the boundaries. I do hope that that software will be extended and some improvements will be made basically based on where virtual reality is moving, and that requires investment. It doesn't stand by.
Correct.
It doesn't
Mhm.
Without
Correct.
investment, you cannot have the assets to make that rich environment that Francisca is talking about, Kathleen's talking about, to pick up and loop.
Well,
So
and
yeah,
yeah, we need to also take into account, it takes time, it takes knowledge, right? And how do you extrapolate out of what the practitioners go through, and actually creating the assets? We
Yeah.
need tools that would allow us to create that the assets for that virtual reality experience are more manageable and quicker delivery time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
solid point. Because as we talked again, I remember, you can have the camera, but you're not the best photographer because you do not know how to use that tool. You don't have the pedagogical affordances regarding what's the best angle to stay and take a shot and so forth. So regardless of the investment made, there needs to be a balance between the technique, pedagogy, and fusion of instructional designers, tech rangers, faculty, lecturers working together. Which brings me to another point, and this is going to be the first of two questions that I would kind of pose. Personally, I think extended reality is in its infancy. It's just starting to move. I might be wrong. You can challenge me on that point. But I think we have so much more places to go as it relates to the technology, realism, presence, and so forth. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely agree with you there. The extended reality or mixed reality is not. I don't feel like it's there yet either for just general use. I definitely think there's some use cases for it, but I definitely think there's a stronger case to be made for virtual reality or augmented reality in an educational setting right now. And we're talking about production value. These are higher production value things. So a video takes more production time than just talking to someone face to face. So even though you can convey the same information with both of those. So I think it would be good to focus on the easier point of entry where we can find those compelling use cases for virtual reality and augmented reality.
Thanks for that. Good point.
I am kind of conflicted. I don't think it is well advanced yet, that's for sure, or widely adopted yet. I think it's a manifestation of how the different technologies have evolved, and actually people experimenting and having to the realizations of some good uses. I think there is the beginning of some meaningful and deeper conversations about how might we utilize these kinds of technologies in the future. So not quite too early, but a little further ahead than that I think I'm interpreting you are saying,
Okay.
Mhm.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Kathleen, Luke.
I think we are early on also, and I think there are a lot of questions to be answered before we start to see it used regularly in an educational setting. I think with all technologies, what faculty members, teachers, instructors have to do is evaluate it for what it does and what it can do for their students, instead of, again, as we said earlier, just using it because it's cool. You've got to evaluate it, and then it goes beyond that, but understanding what is it going to do for what does good pedagogy within this look like, and what does it look like? So it's really an extension of your classroom space. It's a new classroom space is what it is. And So we often think of that physical space, but then we send students out to technology. We don't see where we're sending them to as a classroom space. And when it's a classroom space, you have to consider classroom management as well. So how do we manage that? So I think there's a lot of those questions that are still floating around, those and many more, of figuring out exactly what it can do, how we manage it, how our students get the best experience out of it, and how do we teach through it.
Kathleen, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And I think another thing that we have to look at are to find faculty who are willing to, when the cost is lower, to champion the product, because the thing that I brought to College of Nursing, the students loved it. They wanted to see more of it, but someone's got to be doing it. And it's got to be, you know, cost effective. And they have to know it has to be easy for faculty to use, because we all know it's just got to be easy for them to be able to just, you know, go with it and be able to share it with students. Because since I've done that, no one's contacted me for anything else. So I was the one that brought it. They loved it. And then
Yes. Good effort.
It's got to be easy and cheap.
If I can add one more point, I think also considering, you know, the faculty viewpoint and what they're dealing with on a day-to-day, there's always a reluctance to go outside of what you normally do. When you have something that's working, your students are learning and moving forward, it's very difficult with the time that you have, depending on your teaching load, to add something else and to think about, oh, okay, I've got to figure out how to teach this, manage it, all the stuff we've all mentioned. Add that to your already busy. And it's not that you don't want to meet the needs of students in a better way. It's just you begin thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to add one more thing? Okay, I can do that during the summer. And so you push it off. So I think there's also that in getting faculty to champion it. Many will be reluctant simply because they're already slammed with things to do.
And I would add, if I could, to that, professional development, right? And the allocation of time for faculty, you know, give them the time to be able to explore and to figure things out. Anything you introduce that's new, a new technique, it doesn't have to be technology. It's going to take time and coordination on all parties. So I think it needs to be coordinated effort and allow for people to learn more about it, and professional development for ourselves too, you know. That time needs to be nurtured and allowed.
Yes, I strongly agree. I realize that people who hold VR equipment or piece of equipment are no experts. However, they have not done any real research to establish themselves. They have consultants, and as they move from one technology to technology to the other, the only thing they need to have is a technology that you're using to say that I'm an expert in using that technology. But again, the pedagogy is not there. So I do have some issues there. You know, if you're living and you want to be a VR enthusiast, you have to be reading, you have to be researching and so forth. But one of the biggest issue I have with virtual reality, and that's why I'm a critic, I call myself a critic as it relates to this and VR, is the issue of inclusivity. How inclusive is this technology? And that's my final question. Why extended reality when we consider those who might not be able to participate in a VR experience or some aspects of that VR experience? That's my question to you. How do we envision this within a context of are we ready, and why virtual reality?
Well, I would say there's opportunities to include more people than with using virtual reality, mixed reality technologies, rather than not using those technologies. So you have an opportunity to be more inclusive, but at the cost of possibly being exclusive of another group of people. So you know, and you and I have talked about this in some of the earlier videos. It's, you know, it's tough. Any technology is going to include more people and exclude more people. And yeah, I guess I don't have an answer.
That's one that keeps haunting me all the time. You know, how do I balance? You're pushing to be an inclusive person, Rohan, but at the same time, you realize that there are some barriers there. So sometimes I kind of ignore the barriers, but it comes back to haunt me. You know, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it goes back to that gap comment I made earlier. There are different kinds of instantiations of this technology, but perhaps we need to start with the more reasonable ones, like the ones with the mobile devices, like augmented reality. Maybe that's a little more, you can reach out to more, that there's more breadth. How deep can you get in? It might be, questionable, or perhaps if the experience is well designed, you can allow for a true immersion in your honor look. Yeah, I mean, there needs to be some conversations, not just about cost. I love what Jacob just said about opportunity. There's a lot of opportunities. We just need to figure out how can we get what to the most people, and if somebody's left out, how can we bring them along? We need to figure that out.
Solid point. Anyone else like to touch on that?
Well, I don't mean to hog the mic, but that made me think of another thing of like, we have assistive technologies, right? For basically every technology, there's some kind of way of assisting someone with a disability who is not able to use that technology as it was designed. And that's one thing that I think we need to be paying attention to as XR goes forward. How can we design it so it doesn't need an assistive technology? It's just designed to work with everyone.
Yeah, love that point. Love that.
That's definitely not an easy problem, though.
Yes, you work at the back end, Jacob. You can figure that one out. I tell you, it sounds good.
Tough.
It is an interesting. It's an interesting scale, if you will, because in agreeing with what Jacob originally said as well, you begin to think about, okay, I can bring mobile technology VR experience, XR experience to students who might normally never be able to go to a place that I want to take them to. And in that way, it becomes inclusive. And then you begin to think about, okay, well, what about the student who has motion sickness or for some other reason can't handle an experience like this? Now I've excluded them and I've taken all their peers on this experience and they're excluded again. So there's always that. And I think as was mentioned before, that is the question, is how do you bring them along, and designs where it would bring those students who are excluded along would be amazing. I don't know how close we are to that.
Okay, Kathleen, final words on that one.
I usually just try to ask the people making stuff, have you thought about, haptics for people that are blind, or have you thought about closed captioning for, and I just try to keep it out there as, to make people at least be annoyed by it, or maybe like, oh, I never thought of that. So I just try to just kind of include it in conversation when I'm looking at a new product, because I'm not a developer.
Yes, so right. Colleagues, I want to say it has been a wonderful opportunity to discuss with you why extended reality, virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. Of course, this is a starting point to many more sessions where we can interact and really look at virtual reality and the realities within a critical framework. I have learned a lot from interacting with you guys over the last couple of years, and today was no exception. I want to say you will find out that as we interact, we will also contribute to the knowledge that is needed in various places and spaces. So let me say at this point in time, thanks, and please remember our next meeting will be next month at the same time. And of course, thanks to everyone who will view this recording, and please share your comments as you see fit.